Many ask me how to clean an engine full of sludge without spending a fortune, and I always tell them the same thing. The answer is at the hardware store, not at the auto parts shop. Today, I'm going to show you how $1 of kerosene can do the same as a $50 product with a pretty label, but with one condition. If you do it wrong, you can destroy your engine. If you do it right, you give it a second life. And there's a step in this process that almost nobody shows complete, the one that determines whether the cleaning really happened or was just the feeling of having done something. I save it for the end because if you leave before reaching it, the rest is worth nothing. Let's go. 1. The science behind the hack. To understand why this works, first you have to understand what we're up against. Engine sludge is not simply dirty oil. That's what most people believe, and that's also why they believe a conventional oil change fixes it. It doesn't fix it. Think about it like this. Imagine you leave cooking oil in a pan on high heat for hours. What's left at the bottom is no longer oil. It's a black paste, dense, sticky, that doesn't move even with hot water. That is exactly what happens to engine oil when it works too many kilometers without being changed, with accumulated heat, with incomplete combustion, with all the grime of everyday life. That residue adheres to the internal walls of the engine, to the oil passages, to the valve cover, to the bottom of the oil pan, and there it stays. Because when you open the drain plug in a normal change, what has liquid consistency comes out. But what is stuck to the walls like dry paint, that goes nowhere. The new oil comes in clean, but shares space with what was left from the previous change, and from the one before that, and from the one before that. There's something that makes this problem worse than it appears at first glance, and I want you to visualize it well, because it's what explains all the strange symptoms that mechanics many times don't know how to answer clearly. The oil passages of an engine are like arteries. They have an exact diameter, calculated so that the flow is the correct one. When the sludge keeps adhering to the walls of those passages, that diameter gets reduced. The oil arrives, but it arrives slower, in lesser quantity. And that engine is spinning at 2, 3, 4,000 revolutions per minute. Under those conditions, reduced lubrication is not a performance problem. It's a wear problem. And wear doesn't make noise at the beginning. It doesn't turn on any light. It only accumulates damage in silence, until one day something fails, and the mechanic tells you the engine is very beaten up, without knowing exactly when it started getting beaten up. Now, do you know what situation generates sludge faster than anything, and that almost nobody mentions? Short trips in the city. When the engine never reaches full operating temperature, the water that forms from condensation inside the engine doesn't get to evaporate and stays mixed with the oil. That accelerates degradation in a way that most drivers never connect to the sludge problem that appears later. A car that does 5 kilometers a day in traffic is generating sludge faster than a car that does highway. Documented fact. Almost never mentioned. And when is it too late for this method? That I explain to you after the procedure. First, you need to understand why kerosene works, because that understanding is what keeps you from applying it blindly. The degraded oil that forms sludge is basically hardened oxidized grease, and kerosene, being a hydrocarbon, has the ability to infiltrate those layers and dissolve them, returning their fluidity so they can circulate and exit through the drain. It's not magic. We are lowering the viscosity of the old oil temporarily so that it acts as a powerful detergent and sweeps away what is stuck. The key point is that 1, temporarily. Because kerosene also thins the oil while it's inside, and that is exactly where the risk lives if you don't respect the rules of the process. But before getting to that, there's something I want to show you. Look, if you ever wanted to truly understand how your engine works on the inside, not just for this process, but for anything that happens to your car, there's a course I put together specifically for that. Mechanics, electricity, electronics, and automotive programming, all in one place. No detours, no wasting time with filler content. If that's what you're looking for, the link is in the pinned comment. Go in, take a look, and decide. Now let's continue. 2. The procedure and the warnings. Before giving you the step-by-step, I need to be direct about something I cannot leave out. There are engines where you should not do this. If your engine has a constant metallic knocking when you start it, that dry and deep sound that some call a rod knock, stop right there. That noise means the lubrication system is no longer delivering what that engine needs. Putting in a solvent that thins the oil even further under those conditions is adding pressure on something that is already at its limit. This method is for cleaning, it's not for rescuing what is already broken. Equally important, if your engine has visible oil leaks, if it leaves stains on the floor when parked, if the level drops between changes without clear explanation, there are seals that are already compromised. Kerosene can bring them to the point of definitive failure, not because it destroys them from scratch, but because it takes them to the edge when they were already close. So, how do you know if your engine is a candidate without opening it? There are 3 things you can check right now without tools. The first is the oil when it comes out. If in your last change, the oil came out almost black, thick, with few kilometers on it, degradation is being accelerated. If it had clumps or looked more like a paste than a liquid, there's real accumulation inside. The second is to look inside the engine. Remove the oil filler cap, the round cap on the top, and put a flashlight in. A clean engine has surfaces with an amber or golden tone, metallic, with minimal deposits. An engine with sludge has black, sticky surfaces with dark layers in the corners and the nooks. If that is what you see, there is work to be done, and this process makes sense. The third is the history. Regular and documented changes mean low risk of severe sludge. Unknown history, long intervals between changes, many kilometers in the city. That is exactly the profile where this process is worth it. If you passed that filter, here is the complete procedure. The engine must be hot, not warm, at normal operating temperature. Hot oil mixes better with the kerosene, and hot sludge is softer and more receptive to the solvent. Start the engine, wait for it to reach temperature, and turn it off. The exact quantity? 7% of the total oil volume of your engine. For a 4-cylinder engine with a capacity of 4 liters, that is between 250 and 300 milliliters of kerosene. For a larger engine, up to 400 milliliters. Not 1 drop more. More quantity does not clean more. It only thins the oil more than you need and increases the risk with no additional benefit. The moment to pour it. With the engine off but still hot, you pour the kerosene through the oil filler opening. You close the cap tight. You start the engine. And hear the rule that cannot be broken under any circumstance. The engine stays at idle, at minimum revolutions. You don't touch the accelerator. You don't put the car in gear. If you accelerate even for a moment, you are demanding from a lubrication system that has the oil deliberately thinner than normal. The film that separates the moving metals loses the margin it needs to function. That is what generates real damage, not the kerosene alone. The kerosene with load on the engine. Idle, no exceptions. The time, 10 minutes exactly. The soft sludge detaches in the first minutes. Extending the time doesn't improve the cleaning proportionally, it only increases the exposure of the seals to the solvent unnecessarily. Set a timer, 10 minutes, no more. During those 10 minutes, listen to the engine. Sometimes, in engines with real accumulation, the sound becomes slightly smoother and more uniform in the first 2 or 3 minutes. It's a sign that oil is reaching zones that before were receiving less flow. But if at any moment during those 10 minutes you hear a new noise, a knocking that wasn't there before, you turn off the engine immediately, without waiting. That noise means something inside is not receiving enough lubrication. If that occurs, you turn it off, drain it, put in new oil, and check before anything else. That is the emergency protocol that almost no video mentions, and that is just as important as any other step. After 10 minutes without incidents, you turn off the engine. You wait between 3 and 5 minutes so all the mixture comes down to the oil pan by gravity. Then you open the drain plug. What comes out looks different from the oil of a normal change. darker, more loaded, with visible material in suspension. The more different it looks, the more had accumulated inside, and the more sense all of this made. You change the oil filter. Always, without exception. The old filter is saturated with the residues of the process. Leaving it is equivalent to immediately recirculating part of what you just took out. And now comes the step that 90% of people skip, the one that decides whether all of this was worth it or not. 3. The rinse step. Most people at this point do exactly the same thing. They grab their expensive synthetic oil and pour it in immediately. And with that, they just threw in the trash a good part of the work they did. Here's the problem. The drain plug never extracts all the fluid from the oil pan. Because of the internal shape of the engine, there always remains an amount of residual liquid in the corners and at the bottom. In a normal oil change, that doesn't matter because it's only old oil and it represents a small fraction of the total. But after this process, that residue is a mixture of kerosene, old oil, and sludge fragments that the solvent detached from the walls, but that didn't make it out through the drain plug. If the new oil enters directly on top of that, your final oil starts working contaminated from the first start. The kerosene that stayed at the bottom is still there, diluting whatever is with it. The sludge fragments that floated but didn't drain are going to circulate throughout the entire engine with the new oil. There goes the money for the oil. There goes the cleaning you wanted. The correct step is the rinse, and it's simple. After the first drain, with the new filter in place, you pour in cheap oil. Not your final oil, the cheapest you can find, of the volume the engine needs. You start it. Idle 5 minutes. Only 5 because the only thing you're doing is using that low-cost oil as a broom that sweeps what was left in the corners and takes it toward the drain plug. You turn it off. You wait. You drain again. What comes out in that second drain tells you exactly how effective the first drain was. If it comes out with a relatively clear color, the oil pan is clean and you can proceed. If it comes out dark and loaded, there was more residue than you thought. In engines with severe accumulation, sometimes a third cycle is needed. The criterion is simple, that the rinse oil comes out reasonably clean before giving the process as finished. When that happens, you change the filter one more time. Yes, an additional filter. And now the final oil comes in. That oil enters an engine that really got cleaned, not one that got half-washed. The math is simple. 1 liter of cheap oil plus an additional filter is around $14. Paying $14 to guarantee that the $40 of synthetic oil you're going to put in works in a clean environment is not an extra expense. It's the difference between doing the process right or doing it halfway. 4. The final result. Now you have the complete process. But I want to be direct about something before closing, because I believe it's what most conversations about this topic are missing. This method is not for everyone, nor for every engine. It's a specific tool with precise conditions of use. The ideal engine for this is one without active oil pressure problems, without visible leaks, with irregular maintenance history, with genuinely high mileage, and with clear signs of accumulation. That engine has real sludge that the kerosene can attack, and the benefit clearly outweighs the risk. An engine with regular maintenance and frequent changes probably doesn't have enough accumulation for the result to be noticeable. It doesn't make much sense to do it if there's nothing real to clean. An engine with metallic noises, active leaks, or oil pressure problems is not a candidate. We already said it, but it's worth repeating because it's the point where the most mistakes are made. About the debate between kerosene and commercial store products. If you have easy access to a good brand engine flush and the price is not a problem for you, use it. Products formulated for this purpose are less aggressive with the seals and more predictable in their behavior. That is a technical fact, and it's worth recognizing it. But if you're in a place where those products are hard to find, or if the cost is a real barrier, kerosene, with the correct procedure, has decades of documented results in real shops. It's not an internet trick. It's a practice that comes from mechanics who learned with real engines in contexts where there was no other option. What you did today, if you did it right, is a cleaning job that at a shop would cost you between $80 and $150 between labor and product. You did it for the cost of 1 liter of kerosene, 1 oil filter, and 1 liter of cheap oil for the rinse. That is what it's worth to understand how an engine works. Not the expensive products. Not the marketing, the understanding. Cleaning the inside of your engine is only the first step, but there's something that manufacturers do from the factory so that your engine wears out before it should, and almost nobody talks about that. If you want to understand it, go to the video that's on screen right now. See you there!